Okay, good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Mark Cruz, CEO of NUPMF Metals Corporation. Today I'm here to tell you all about our silver sand project in Bolivia. Please note there will be some forward-looking statements in the presentation. We certainly believe we can stand behind them. So, NUPMF is a silver-focused company. Interesting thing to note that typically in a precious metal bull market, silver tends to outperform gold. Also has a lot of other uses, as much as an investment tool, also as an industrial, biomedical, and part of the green economy as well. So why NUPMF? What sets us apart? We've got a little bit of an overview of the presentation here. Certainly a very experienced board and management. We've been fortunate enough in our careers to find, discover new deposits, take them right the way through from discovery, through development, permitting, into construction. And actively, produced them over many years. Got great shareholders. Silvercorp Metals is our largest shareholder, a little bit below 29%. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And also Pan American Silver, the world's largest silver mining company. So certainly we believe this is a great vote of confidence for both the project and, in fact, the management team. Really, we'll spend quite a bit of time talking about our new discovery. That's the silver sand deposit itself. Certainly one of the larger discoveries globally in the last decade. It remains open for expansion, and we have aggressive exploration campaigns planned through to the end of the year and obviously transitioning on into 2021. We're certainly well funded to execute in our corporate strategy, sitting on approximately $48 million US in the treasury. Also interesting to note, we recently transitioned from the junior board, the venture exchange, to this main board about a month ago, and we're also now part of the JDGX index on the senior board. Certainly near-term catalysts. Fundamentally, we are an exploration and development company and really do believe in adding value with the drill bit. So aggressive drilling campaigns right the way from 2017 until ongoing, and certainly we will continue to focus on exploration as a main value creator or driver as well. In tandem with this, as part of the dual strategy, we have started our advanced engineering studies and project studies on silver sand, and we'll talk about those in a little while as well. And finally, just to note that, again, fundamentally believe in creating shareholder value. We are in the process of spinning out our Tagish Lake gold deposits into Whitehorse Gold, subject to shareholder approval at the end of this month, September. So that's kind of what to look forward to. I won't spend too much time looking at the leadership and experience. I think the key thing to note is a very experienced both board and management team. We have certainly worked in Latin America and South America quite extensively during our careers, and been involved in very large projects from the super majors right the way down to the mid-tier mining companies as well. And really in the past few months, as we transition from exploration into exploration and development mode, we've been increasing the bench strength with some key hires on the management side and also on our Bolivian team, specifically on focus on ESG, sustainability, and the community affairs and social studies. Looking at the board of directors, certainly the company's founder and really is Dr. Yi Feng. He is also chairman and CEO of Silvercorp, our largest shareholder, massive supporter of both the Silver Sand project and NUPMF Metals. So it's great to have his input at the board level. Also worth noting that Martin Waforn, Senior VP Technical Services of Pan American, also sits on the board as well, again representing our second largest shareholder. And finally, Dr. Peter McGaugh, a pretty famous geologist for silver exploration in Latin America and South America, and provides advisory services for the exploration group as well. So taking a look at the share structure, you can see it here. Silvercorp Metals a little bit sub 29%, Pan American Silver approximately 10%, management about 7%, and then a float about 55%. Research coverage, some of the very large Canadian banks. We've got BMO and more boutique firms, PI Financial, and some US coverage as well. Forward-looking statement here, but given the size of the project, I think we would anticipate additional coverage moving forward. Clearly, that will have to wait until international travel starts up again, and hoping to get some new analysts, new eyes on the property early next year. You can take a look on the share graph there. Obviously, it does vary, but 158 million shares out, fully diluted, giving us a market cap anywhere between, call it 720, 780 million US, or a little bit sub $1 billion Canadian. and we discussed the cash position already. Let's delve down and take a look at the property itself. So we're in South America, we're in Bolivia. We're in the southern part of Bolivia, in northern Potosí Department, the home of Bolivian silver mining. So we'll spend most of our time looking at silver sand, and then we'll look at what we believe could be a next or up and coming silver sand project, our Silver Strike property, which we acquired in late last year and shares many similarities to the silver sand deposit pre-discovery drilling. So we've zoomed in now, you can see on the inset there. So we're looking at Potosí City, the departmental capital, population about 150,000 people, regional airport. It's got a paved highway in yellow there that runs east-west. And we access the property from the community of Don Diego on a graded municipal road. There's power on site, there is a cell tower on site, and there are water sources. So given that we are in the Andes, it is actually very well served from an infrastructural basis. Bit of the project overview, very much one of a rapid discovery and successful discovery. The project was only acquired by New Pacific in mid-2017. Discovery was in the end of that year with what I would classify at this point as a typical silver sand intercept. Big, broad, almost several hundred meters of 100, plus 100 gram silver, within which higher grade intervals occur. Really during 2018 and into certainly the first half of 2019 was ongoing resource expansion drilling, and then flipping into more definition drilling or infill drilling in the latter half of 2019. Certainly, over that 2-year period, 18 and 19, it was the largest greenfields exploration drill campaign in South America, with over close to 100,000 meters drilled in almost 400 diamond drill holes. Also in 2019, we expanded our land package. The corporate affairs team successfully negotiated with the Bolivian state mining company, Comibol, to a mining production contract, or essentially a joint venture and development contract, for an additional 57 square kilometers. That gives us more of an emerging district regional scale play. Just to be clear, though, that does require ratification by the Bolivian Assembly, and they're going through elections at the moment. So, most likely, obviously subject to all the usual risks. With any negotiation, that approval is most likely a 2021 event. Moving into 2020, ongoing discovery at the property scale, and then that really culminated in our inaugural resource estimate in April of this year. You can see here, just as we get into silver sand, this is an overview of the deposit. Where really the field of view is we're standing on South Zone, looking to the north-northwest over what is now the central zone of the deposit. A couple of key features to note in this photo. Certainly, you can see the historic workings. We believe it was mined from the mid-1500s up until about the 1800s, or the end of the Spanish colonial era. The field of view there from bottom of the screen to the top of the hill is about 250 meters of silver mineralization. It starts at outcrops on the surface, and then looking across from kind of hill to hill is about 600-700 meters across. And then the strike from the south zone, which we're standing on, to the top of the central and north zone is approximately 1.2, 1.3 kilometers, and the deposit remains open. So it's a very large, emerging, brand new silver discovery and deposit. Looking at the numbers here, independent 43101, a pretty standard table, but you can see measured and indicated 35 million tons, close to 140 grams of silver for contained silver metal of 156 million ounces. Smaller inferred tonnage of sub 10 million tons of close to, a little bit over 110 grams per ton for an additional 35 million ounces of silver. So really, this is the largest silver discovery in Bolivia in the last 30 years since San Cristobal, one of the largest primary silver discoveries globally in the last 10 years. We'll see how that stacks up with some of our peers and competitors. Really, what is interesting about this is typically for your inaugural resource, you'd expect most of your tonnage to be in inferred, whereas in this case, the bulk of it, or 70%, is in measured and indicated. So technically de-risked, drilled down to 25-meter centers from a drilling perspective. And as you've seen in the photo, and actually I guess behind me in the backdrop, it starts at surface and certainly will become an open pit operation. Approximately 70% of those resources reside within 200 meters of surface. So very much, shallow by modern pit standards. Metallurgy is very good so far, high recoveries from the mid-80s to mid-90s. Certainly we believe, and our consulting metallurgist believes, because it's just a monomineralic deposit, we only get silver at this point in time, which is a little bit unusual. We'd expect some zinc and lead in the system. Geologically, we believe it's just we haven't found the rest of the deposit, and that's really going to be a main focus of ongoing exploration programs. Take a look here in 3D. So really, we've just cut a section across the deposit. We're looking from south zone here through the central zone and to the north. Few key things here. Firstly, no deep drilling at all in the deposit. You can see the central zone, which is the bulk of the currently published deposit. Deepest drill hole, call it 250 meters, very much near shallow mineralization. No deep drilling to lower stratigraphic units, which could be susceptible for silver mineralization as hosts. Deposit remains open to the north, it remains open to the south, it remains open to depth. Surrounding our measured and indicated, so our tightest drilled parts of the deposit, we have it inferred, like a carapace. And what's in green, what's interesting is limited drilling between the south and central zones. And we also have this blue area here we're calling conceptual exploration. This is where the exploration team has drilled and known mineralized structures, structural trends. We have intercepted silver mineralization of similar grade and similar tenor to that included in the deposit, but it just hasn't been drilled tight enough. So really that means it's just drill spacing is more than 100 meters apart. So we just can't call it inferred. You know, we can put some conservative polygons around that. Obviously these figures will vary, but you know, we estimate there's potential for another, call it 10 to 15 million tons in the kind of broadly similar grade to that included in the current deposit. So, you know, we classify this as very low risk exploration. It is going to be a major focus of the 2020 and into 2021 resource expansion drill campaigns. And really, you know, this is what we look like, how we stack up globally. You can see here, it's a standard kind of bubble chart for deposits. In blue, we have either active open pit operations and or underground ones, but really comparing ourselves to the open pits. You can see silver sand on a grade basis, you know, close to 140 grams per ton, and it contains silver, you know, all categories, let's call it 195, 200 million ounces. Really does stand apart. You know, fundamentally we believe, and obviously subject to ongoing positive drill results, that there's good potential to increase the contained metal of the deposit. And as we start looking for those feeder zones, which always occur in these deposits globally and within Bolivia, you know, if we're fortunate enough to find these, or, you know, time-wise, you know, hopefully we can start moving this grade up the grade as well and size. So up into this kind of quadrant up here to the northeast. So that's really it at a deposit scale, really. So, you know, a lot more work to be done. The deposit remains open, very confident that we will add more tons and ounces with ongoing investment and exploration. Zooming out a bit on the district, certainly we believe, you know, that silver sand deposit will form the cornerstone of a brand new emerging Bolivian silver district. And we can see here on the plot in blue, we've got 100% of our own ground, approximately 5.5, 6 square kilometers. And this silver sand south block, you can see the tight drilling on the central part of the deposit here. South zone sits in here. Our new discovery, which we briefly mentioned, 600 meters to the east, Snake Hole, occurs on the eastern part of the property package. It remains open, really higher grade mineralization than that at silver sand so far. We have started a 4,000 meter resource expansion and definition program on this in Q1 of this year, and hope to finish that off prior to the end of the year. And the other thing to note is there is no drilling in the 600 meter intervening area between the currently defined deposit and the Snake Hole deposit, or zone itself. Also, you know, we've got two main mineralized trends, the silver sand trend that runs up in the middle and the eastern intrusive contact, which you can see running there in pink. Really about 4 kilometers to the north of the silver sand deposit, we got our north block, really centered on the El Bronce occurrence or property package. This is very similar. It's intrusion hosted, historical mining, we believe around the same era as the silver sand deposit was mined, so Spanish colonial times. Again, no prior exploration, modern exploration on it, although, you know, extensive workings, really, you know, mining kind of several meters wide, kind of probably kilogram range silver. In this case, actually deeper in the system, so we do get base metal credits coming into the system. So pretty excited to get a drill test on this one. Likely late Q4 into early Q1 of next year, planning an initial 5,000 meter drill program. Contingent on success, we'll continue to explore the deposit. So I'm just going to take a slurp of coffee here and catch my breath. So really that's, you know, really at Silver Sand, the emerging Silver Sand district. So lots of exploration work to go with. Really towards the end of 2019, you know, we do enjoy, you know, major competitive advantage in Bolivia. You know, we are certainly first mover within, you know, the district or within the country, in fact, for this, you know, forthcoming exploration cycle. And really went looking for, you know, where there are other areas that we believe, you know, could be open to bulk tonnage silver mineralization. And really what we mean by that is where there's historic workings where they would have mined those kind of, you know, sub-meter to several meter wide rather vein systems during colonial periods, but obviously the intervening areas between them where you've got smaller veining just weren't economic at that time. Whereas now they could lend themselves to modern mining practices. And that really brought us to the Silver Strike deposit, which you can see the picture there with the historic workings as a person for scale. So it's probably about 1.5 meters wide at it, which they would have mined, you know, gone into the hillside and mined out here on different levels. And you can see some of the fractures developed in between these that really have never been drill tested that may, you know, form attractive bulk tonnage targets in their own right. So just to reorientate ourselves, we're in the kind of north central part of the country, 200 kilometers to the southwest of La Paz. Again, we're at elevation. A lot of similarities with Silver Sand. It is a historic mining district called the Berenguela mining district. Actually, perhaps a larger historic mining district than that at Silver Sand. And really now at this point, we found historic workings over about 3 kilometers, broadly speaking, east-west striking, and 2 kilometers north-south striking as well. You know, so that's quite interesting. Infrastructure, again, is reasonably well developed, and we have obviously a paved highway to about 8 kilometers of the property, maybe 10, and then a graded municipal road into it. There's grid power on site. There's a cell tower on site as well. Again, we're just trying to compare to, you know, how does Silver Sand, how does it rank compared to our Silver Strike, rather to Silver Sand pre-discovery drilling? Again, historic mining districts in both areas, perhaps Berenguela a bit larger based on surface workings than the Silver Sand one. Has been a bit more modern exploration at Silver Strike. Rio Tinto in the mid-1990s really was looking for a copper gold mineralization, so different commodity focus, different exploration model. Nonetheless, they completed about 4,500 meters of drilling in about 10-12 holes and got some very interesting intercepts. You can see here they got narrow, very high-grade silver mineralization, very interesting copper, potential byproduct coming into the system of 0.5%, broadly speaking, and also gold as well. And that was really drilled in the south central part. So we certainly know between the historic mining, between the more recent exploration, it certainly clearly is a mineralized system. The geological setting is probably a bit more of a traditional Bolivian system, a bit more like a Cerro Rico. You know, one of the world's largest silver mines, been mined for 500 years. So we do have an intrusive, probably the heat source right smack in the central part of the property as well. Obviously, mineralization starts at surface. So, you know, if we're successful at exploration, it should lend itself to what is typically a safer and lower cost extraction open pit mining method. So lots of catalysts to look forward to going forward. Really, you know, we looked at this, you know, the Silver Sand deposit itself remains open for expansion. And really then, you know, obviously taking the lessons learned, getting out into the district and continuing to explore the emerging snake hole zone and our initial drill tests on our Silver Sand North block at El Bronce. And then, you know, at a country scale, you know, pushing hard to get drill permits in for the Silver Strike project, and would like to get rigs turning again by the end of the year, you know, subject to approvals, but certainly at least a minimum 5,000 meter drill campaign on the Silver Strike project. Again, contingent on success, we'll keep those rigs turning as well. Also in the background, like I said, we do, you know, enjoy a major competitive advantage or exploration edge at this point in time, continued ongoing project generation within Bolivia and cementing our status as first mover. We have kicked off our advanced engineering studies on the Silver Sand project, so really a dual strategy. Our prelim economic assessment started in June of this year. In tandem with that, we also started our environmental and social studies as well, and certainly ramping up on the environmental and social side as the project advances through. At this point in time, we're anticipating, you know, initial those results to be complete in the first half of next year. And obviously we'll keep everyone appraised and abreast of how progress is going. So that's really it. That's pretty much, you've been listening to me for a few minutes. You know, I'm Dr. Mark Cruz, CEO of New Pacific Metals Corp. Certainly any questions or comments, I would encourage you to go to the website or certainly reach out directly to us, and some of our corporate comms team will be quite happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.